Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 125, July the 7th, 2017. It is Friday. Thank God. Although it was a pretty quick week because we had one day off. So the week did go pretty quick and hopefully you all had a good week. Anyway, we're going to keep it like we do on Friday, a little bit on the light side, although I do have one interesting commentary for you and also one pretty important fact regarding Loretta Lynch. But let's go ahead and get to some of the fun stuff here. It's being reported by Zero Hedge that the DNC, Democratic National Committee, is not cooperating with Mueller regarding their server. As you know, the DNC would not let the FBI or Department of Homeland Security, if I can get it out, will not allow the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security to analyze their computer servers. They instead had CrowdStrike do that, and we've already talked about CrowdStrike. Now, it appears that we have, as I've mentioned to you in several videos, if Mr. Mueller wants to really look into this Russia thing, he's going to have to analyze the DNC servers because they are the evidence by which all of this is based. Of course, in a investigation as what Mr. Mueller is doing, he cannot rely on the evidence from CrowdStrike. It appears that he may have tried to contact CrowdStrike, and their attorney just simply refers them back to Mr. Comey. The same is true with the Senate Intelligence Committee when they attempted to get some CrowdStrike people to come in and speak in the Senate. They just simply say, hey, call James Comey. He knows everything we know. We have nothing to say that he wouldn't say. We've given him all of our information. Talk to Comey. He's the one that said he's okay with what we gave him. Putting Comey on the hot seat. But it's very interesting because I've not heard anywhere, I've been talking about it, suggesting that Mueller will have to look at those servers, but I've heard from nowhere else that he's made a request to do so, or there's been any response. But Zero Hedge is suggesting in this article, which appeared Thursday on Zero Hedge, that the DNC has refused to let Mr. Mueller take a look at that server. That's very interesting, that Mr. Mueller would even ask the DNC. At this point, you would have to think he's got these prosecutorial powers. He's got subpoena power. Why would he not just issue a subpoena and go get the servers? It's very interesting. We also have Lindsey Graham, who commented on the situation and is stating that he too is perplexed by the fact that CrowdStrike does not want to come in to speak to anyone on the Senate Intel Committee, nor do their attorneys plan on attending and answering any questions. They will not answer any questions in front of the Senate. They will not appear. They will not answer any questions in any letter. There was a letter sent to them a while back by the House Intel Committee. They responded to a few questions, but largely did not respond the way that the House Intelligence Committee would have liked, and they wanted them to come in and testify in live hearings, and they're just refusing to do so. So it's pretty obvious that CrowdStrike wants to stay as far away from this investigation as possible. They just want it to all go away, and I don't blame them. But this is the first I've heard of any suggestion that Mueller has expressed an interest in looking at those servers, and I've been talking about it now for weeks. The fact that he's going to have to do that. If he's going to try to make any type of a case in a legal proceeding regarding the Russians hacking the DNC server, that is evidence that he would present to a jury, but that evidence has to be backed. It has to be supported by some fact. CrowdStrike is not a government entity. They cannot, I don't believe that they could be used as a source. If he did try to use them as a source, then the defense attorney could simply question that source and ask for the transcripts or the data or whatever they have to prove that. And Mr. Mueller knows that. He would have to, at the very least, if he did not have CrowdStrike testifying, he would at the very least have to have CrowdStrike present him with the factual evidence that he could present, that the opposing attorney is going to want to look at. In fact, even before the hearings begin, in the discovery process. During the discovery process where the attorneys meet, Mr. Mueller would be obligated to turn over the data from the server that came from the server being analyzed, and that data would be something that the opposing attorney would request and would be allowed and permitted, and of course would have to see in order to question the validity of the claim. And this is why Mr. Mueller would need to have that DNC server looked at. And I don't think he can use CrowdStrike, really. I mean, that's essentially hearsay in a court. It's not direct government evidence. It's not his evidence. Him and his team did not produce it. The FBI did not produce it. The DHS did not produce it. No government organization produced it. The DC police did not produce it. It was produced by a private company working for the DNC. DNC was their client. And they have very many conflicts of interest at CrowdStrike. It wouldn't stand up in a court of law, and I'm sure that Mr. Mueller would never attempt to bring it up unless he's got some hard evidence to support it. Now, he knows that. This is simple common sense. You do not have to be Perry Mason to figure this one out. So I really don't know what to think about that. Really, it's the first time I've heard that, but I'll be looking for more information on that. And if I find it, I'll bring that information to you, because that's a very interesting development if that is true. And the hits keep on coming for CNN. Since Project Veritas videos, the 3 videos came out, I told you, we gave you the actual numbers, where CNN had lost 20% of their viewers in just literally about 2 weeks' time, from the time the previous ratings were taken to the time the Project Veritas videos came out. But now it appears that the ratings are continuing to fall. They came in 13th place in the recent Arbitron ratings, which means they're at the basement. They're below the basement. I don't know if there's something that goes lower than the basement, but that's where CNN is. Their ratings are so low that, believe it or not, CNN in the last ratings sweep was beaten out by reruns of Yogi Bear. Now, Yogi Bear was a cartoon that was on in the 60s. I think it was on for about 8 or 10 years, syndicated. Went off the air in the early 70s. I remember when they stopped the Yogi Bear cartoon. But it's just extraordinary that CNN cannot even beat reruns of a 1960s animated cartoon. That's how bad things are for CNN, and that's why they're coming unglued so bad. And it just gets worse and worse and worse for these people day after day. I don't know how much longer that they can hold on. I don't know how much longer before they have to start axing people and cleaning house. You know, you can't have ratings that low. You can't come in below Yogi Bear reruns. You can't do that as a major network. Of course, I don't think they care if they lose money. I mean, CNN is just it's a play toy for Time Warner. So it's like, the New York Times. I mean, they've been bleeding red ink for years. But Mr. Slim is so rich, he doesn't care. He just wants to own a newspaper so he can put his point of view out there. And the same, I think, is true at CNN. They look at it like, probably, yeah, we're losing millions and millions of dollars. Hey, but we've got a platform to get our propaganda out there. The problem is that you can only, your media network can only slip so low, and their credibility is practically completely lost at this point. I mean, I cited a poll for you a week ago where even CNN's own viewers, the majority of CNN's own viewers, people who regularly watch CNN, that's their news source, don't trust them. I mean, when the majority of your own viewers do not trust you, when your ratings are lower than reruns of a 1960s animated cartoon, and you come in 13th place, I don't know how much longer, that you can continue. I don't even think it's a money issue at this point. Uh, it's an embarrassment issue at this point. And MSNBC is below CNN somewhere, and that's even harder to believe. I don't even think the Morning Joe even gets 500,000 views. I mean, that's just embarrassing. So that's the state of affairs that CNN is looking at, and that explains why they're so unhinged. They really are grasping at anything. And Donald Trump in Poland today rips him again. So what I've been looking at, of course, we've all been looking forward to the fact that Susan Rice was supposed to testify in front of this closed session, and we were told it was either going to be Wednesday or Thursday. Well, Wednesday and Thursday have come and gone. For the past 48 hours, I've been searching every one of my sources, of which there are many, to find anything about what may have transpired in those hearings, or if those hearings even occurred. And based on just trying to find out if the hearings even occurred, I cannot find a single thing of anyone even reporting that Susan Rice even appeared for a closed session hearing so far this week. And it was supposed to happen yesterday or today. It doesn't appear that Susan Rice did show up in a closed session. If she did, they're keeping it very, very quiet, because not a single person is reporting that I can find. If any of you have a source that's reporting that Susan Rice did do a closed session testimony this week, please leave that link for me. I would love to read it. But I've been searching and spending probably over an hour and a half in the last 2 days just trying to find any evidence at all that Susan Rice showed up for her closed session. I cannot find a thing. So that tells me that she probably did not appear this week. They must have rescheduled. My guess is that Susan Rice is going to wait until some major breaking news happens, something that's really, really important, or takes up, sucks the oxygen out of the room, at which point she'll probably make a quick phone call and say, yeah, I'm going to show up today and testify, or something like that. Maybe, clearly, she does not want, nor do anyone around her, or attorney or anyone else, they don't want a lot of attention to be focused on Susan Rice appearing for that closed session. Even though it will be a closed session, it appears that they don't even want us to know when she even shows up to do that, because they're keeping it very, very quiet. But the reporting was for the past couple of weeks that it was going to be this week, and I can't find a single thing suggesting to me that Susan Rice has showed up for her closed session hearing. She's got a lot to fear, and maybe her attorneys haven't finished coaching her, because you can bet that Susan Rice is going through some serious coaching right now, and maybe they've run into problems. Maybe in the process of her coaching sessions, they've stumbled upon a couple questions that they know she'll be asked that she really can't answer without incriminating herself, or possibly someone else. They must be having a very difficult time trying to figure out how to play it. But I'll continue to watch every single day. I do. And we'll try to find out when Susan Rice actually shows up for her closed session. We are now learning, it has been confirmed by Kathy Griffin herself. You remember Kathy Griffin did her little video where she pretended to be an Al-Qaeda figure holding up Trump's severed head. It appears now that even Kathy Griffin is now confirming that she was visited and interviewed by the Secret Service. That's why she's been so quiet. I bet you won't hear much more coming out of her pie hole regarding Donald Trump. My guess is you won't hear a peep out of Kathy Griffin on that line of propaganda anymore. I imagine you won't hear much about it in her comedy act, if she still has a comedy act. Kathy Griffin probably got a little frightened, because when the Secret Service comes knocking, they're pretty intimidating. I mean, they actually intend to be intimidating. That's what they do. They intimidate you. They scare you. very important piece of news today from one of my very favorite journalists. I've been reading Paul Sperry's stuff for years. Now, he's been with the New York Post for years and years, but he also is a freelance guy, and his stories get published in other places. But he's a really good old school type journalist, kind of I think he started out in newspapers, but he's a really good old school journalist. I love reading his stuff. It's always sourced so well. He's straight down the middle. He's a very solid journalist, and he's pointed out something in a column that he wrote yesterday, that was published yesterday in the New York Post, where he went back and took a look at Loretta Lynch's hearings, which occurred in front of the House Judiciary Committee in July of 2016, following Loretta Lynch's meeting on the plane with Bill Clinton. And if you remember those particular hearings, what everybody reported on mostly after the hearings, the big reporting was pretty much that Loretta Lynch said that I can't remember or I can't recall 74 times. In other words, she was asked about 100 and some odd questions, a few over 100 questions. 75% of the questions or so she could not recall. So this is how Loretta Lynch handles hearings. She just says she can't remember, can't recall. But it's very, very difficult. And so Mr. Sperry has gone back and he has looked at that entire hearings, watched the entire hearings again. And he noted one very particular question that she did answer. And she answered it in the affirmative. She was asked if during the Clinton email investigation by the FBI, she was asked if she ever had, at any time during that investigation, spoken with any member of the Clinton team or any of the people associated with the Clinton campaign. And she affirmatively denied ever having spoke to anyone in the Hillary Clinton campaign or anyone around the campaign or anything else associated with the Hillary Clinton campaign. So it's one of the few questions she actually did answer. As it turns out, she should have said she couldn't recall on that one too, because we now know, and it has been confirmed by Mr. Sperry and multiple sources, not just Mr. Sperry, Circa News, and various other news reporting agencies, AP even. This was on AP. This is where I originally got it. The testimony which James Comey gave, which he talks about this email that he showed Loretta Lynch, which was a conversation between a Hillary Clinton, one of her senior campaign officials, and this other gentleman, which is alleged to be the other person in the other party involved in the email conversation. James Comey talked about this in his closed-door session, and of course, we now know, he now has produced, or the FBI, or Department of Justice, someone has produced that email. They have it. The House Intelligence Committee has it. I believe the Oversight Committee probably has it, and I would assume the Senate Intelligence Committee also has it. So they have this email. And of course, if you remember, that email suggests in the conversation between the Clinton senior campaign official and this man from this political organization, which was working for the Clinton campaign, are having this discussion where they talk about the fact that the Attorney General has already stated that she's going to put the kibosh on the investigation and she's not going to let it go too far. So she is incriminated in that email. And this is that woman Renteria that we're talking about. She is incriminated in this email, and the way the email reads, according to Paul Sperry and his sources, is that Miss Renteria is essentially saying in the email that she has it on personal, that it's personal, that she spoke with Loretta Lynch or had contact with Loretta Lynch. So this is not a hearsay or anything. This is Renteria saying that she's been given this information from Loretta Lynch, that she's not going to let this investigation go too far. So what this means is that Loretta Lynch lied back in July of 2016 when she said she'd never spoken to anyone who was a part of the Clinton campaign or any Clinton campaign officials. Ms. Renteria was one of the higher-up officials in the Clinton campaign. And so you can bet this is a question they're going to be drilling down on when Loretta Lynch comes in to testify, is the fact that in the hearings back in 2016, after the meeting on the plane, she said she had not, and she was under oath, had not spoken with or communicated with anyone around or in the Clinton team. Yet they have this email with Miss Renteria and this other gentleman where they're talking about the fact that Miss Renteria has been given a personal assurance from the Attorney General that they are not going to let this investigation go too far. So truly there we have a complete lie, basically. Loretta Lynch is caught in a bald-faced lie, which shouldn't surprise us. She should have, on that question, she should also have said she can't recall. Because whenever she answers a question, apparently she incriminates herself. So you can bet that they do have this email, and you can bet that they'll be drilling down on that particular statement in their line of questioning, and she's going to be in a very difficult position because she's already stated under oath that she never had any contact with anyone in the Clinton campaign officials, yet they have an email which suggests that that's not true. Now they're going to get her and they're going to get Miss Renteria. It'll be very interesting to see what Miss Renteria has to say about that. And Mr. Sperry suggests, according to his sources, that she was speaking to this gentleman she was speaking with, and she was suggesting that this was information she got firsthand, that she had spoken with Loretta Lynch, and that this assurance was given to her by Loretta Lynch. So it'll be interesting to see how Ms. Renteria and how Loretta Lynch handle this particular question, and many other questions, of course, that they're going to have for her. And we'll just have to keep watching for that too. And that's going to be a very that may be a more of a telling hearing even than what we see with Susan Rice. Although Susan Rice has to explain the unmasking, Samantha Power also has to explain unmasking. Mr. Brennan also has to explain the unmasking. Remember, they've got the conversations that were unmasked. They know they had nothing to do with foreign affairs, national security, or anything else. They were just basic conversations that individuals working on a political campaign would have. You know, such as how are you doing? What are you doing to prepare for this? Are these reservations have been made? Blah 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 blah. Have you got this taken care of? Is this taken care of? Just the details of things that you do when you're running a political campaign, and that's what these masked conversations that Devin Nunes saw and others on the committee, and they've got these. They've got this information, so she's going to have a very difficult time explaining that. Wish these hearings would get underway so that we could start getting to the bottom of all this. But this is how things are done in the swamp. Very, very slow. It's a hurry up and wait sort of situation that you have whenever you're dealing with any government bureaucracy, the Congress, or anything like that. They do not move quick. Okay, so finally in today's video, I just want to comment on one thing that's kind of been driving me nuts for weeks and weeks now, and it's this. I keep seeing these Republicans and pundits and all these people coming out and talking about how Trump's tweets, and he needs to stop tweeting, and his tweets are getting him in trouble, and his tweets are keeping him in hot water, and he needs to stop the tweeting and all this type of stuff. He's bringing this stuff on himself. This is just insanity. I don't know where these people have been, but do any of you believe that if Trump stopped tweeting for a week or even a day, that all of a sudden MSNBC, CNN, and New York Times, the Daily Beast, and all these other left-wing organizations, do you think that they would suddenly stop attacking Donald Trump? No, they wouldn't. Of course not. In fact, they would double down. They would double down. They would be talking about him being a sexist and a racist and a homophobe. They'd be talking about any policy he has, how it's unfair, how it's against the law, how it's a violation of the Constitution. It doesn't really matter whether Trump tweets or not. It has no effect on how the media have been covering him for a year. And these Republicans that think, yeah, if Donald Trump would quit tweeting, the media would start being nice to him. No, 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 no. Trump is absolutely 100% correct. And the Republicans should be learning from Donald Trump because Donald Trump is outsmarting them. Look at what he's doing to CNN. He's destroying them, just like he did those 17 Republicans and Hillary Clinton. You would think by now that they would learn that this man that they continue to criticize beat them, beat the Democrats, and he's beating the media single-handedly without any help from them. They should all be tweeting. Because what's Trump really doing? You know, I talk a lot about Jeff Sessions, not getting out there and getting on offense like he should be. Well, Trump understands this. And that's what Trump is doing with all the tweeting. He's controlling the situation. He is keeping CNN on defense. He's keeping MSNBC on defense. He's keeping the New York Times on defense. He's keeping all the liberal media on defense while he goes on offense. You see, he's controlling the situation. And the fact is, rather than not tweeting and having the liberal media attack him on every single thing that you can think of, anything you can think of, they would be attacking him. Rather than allowing that to happen, he is controlling the situation by the tweets. He sends out a tweet that drives the libs nuts, and they spend the next 24, 48, 72 hours going nutty over these tweets, which generally end up backfiring on them. He's winning. He's doing the right thing. He's on offense. And he's controlling the narrative. He's controlling the situation as best as you can. He's still being attacked, but he would be attacked anyway. The only difference is he's being attacked on these tweets, which don't really amount to very much other than they're just kind of funny. And even people who like Trump but really don't like the fact that he's tweeting don't really understand what he understands, which is that if he stops tweeting, he will be under massive attack on every single thing he does or says. And that will dominate the media cycle. It will be constant offense by the left wing. But by doing the tweeting and establishing the point of narrative forces them to respond, puts them on defense and keeps him on offense, and keeps them from being able to just go out and blindly attack him and sucker punch him and hit him from behind when he doesn't know what's coming or where it's coming from. At least ways, at this point, he knows where the attacks are going to come from because he's instigating all of this. But he's maintaining control of the situation, and he's winning. He's winning. And he's doing it without any help from Republicans. They seem to be sitting back thinking, well, we just don't want to get involved, but they're allowing all this to happen. Now, if the Republicans would stand up for the president of their party, if they would go out and stand up for him, he probably wouldn't have to tweet. But he knows that they're not going to do that. The only person that will defend Donald Trump, besides his people and his spokespeople or whatever, is Donald Trump. The Republicans, the establishment, they're certainly not going to defend Donald Trump. He has to do it all himself. But you would think that by now, that from observing him and seeing how he destroyed their 17 establishment Republicans, seeing how he destroyed Hillary Clinton in the Electoral College and stole 3 or 4 blue states away from the Democrats, and you can see how he's the effect he's having on CNN and MSNBC as the ratings collapse and as they make complete fools of themselves, you would think that these Republicans would sit back and go, you know what? I think Trump's on to something. This whole thing about tweeting and frustrating the media and being on offense all the time just might be a good idea. It's what the Republicans have never understood. They've always been terrified of the media, and they're always on defense. The media does a hit piece on some Republican. This has been going on for years. And they come out and apologize, and they spin, and it's sickening. You never really see them come out and stand up for themselves. They're terrified of the media, and they have been. And I can almost understand it back in the old days when you had 3 networks and PBS. But it's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. It's all changed. It's now possible to come out and have a real war with these people and compete and defeat them. With the social media, as I said, CNN's getting less than 1 million daily views. Are now down to 600 and something thousand. Might be even lower than that now because they can't even beat reruns of Yogi Bear. So they're probably down on 500,000 viewers. MSNBC's lower than that. I mean, they're hardly even registering in the Arbitron ratings at this point. And you have many conservative or right-wing or whatever pro-Trump media sites, which when you combine them all together, have tens of millions of viewers. I mean, it's safe for the Republicans to come out and finally grow a spine. It's safe for them to come out and finally defend themselves. It's safe to come out and defend the president. It's safe to pick up your phone and tweet something funny that tweaks the liberals. This is what you do. You go on offense, what I've been talking about for weeks now. Trump understands this. Apparently the Republicans are still not getting it. So this whole idea that people saying, well, Trump should start tweeting, he brings all this on himself, and this and that and the other thing is just completely ridiculous. He's absolutely right. He should continue tweeting, and I hope he continues doing it, and I hope he continues to target CNN and go after him, and MSNBC. It's working. It's working. And these fake polls that say, well, 67% of the people disapprove of his presidency or his performance or what have you. These are the same types of polls that we heard all during the campaign. We were told there's no way he can win. There's no way he can even get the Republican nomination. He blows the Republican field away. We're told there's no way he can beat Hillary Clinton. No way. And then he turns out and blows her away in the Electoral College, takes away 3 or 4 Democratic strongholds, tears down the blue wall, blows it away. And now they want you to believe that he's got a 67% disapproval rating. This is ridiculous. So anyway, I mean, that's just my thoughts on the tweeting. And so if any of you have any comments on that, on what you think about Trump's tweeting, if you think he should continue doing it, if you think he should stop, or what you think. But I mean, it just appears to me that the tweeting is giving him control of the situation. It's certainly going on offense. And again, if Trump stopped tweeting tomorrow and didn't tweet again, the media would just absolutely destroy him. Because then they would go back to creating their own narratives. And they would go back to all the things that they were doing before, talking about him being a fascist or a communist or a Putin lover or, anti-immigrant or sexist or homophobic or, all these sorts of things that the liberal media likes to conjure up and put out there in their format of propaganda. And as you can see, what Trump has done by getting on Twitter almost every day and throwing something out there, he forces them to respond to that. So all the other attacks that they would normally do on him, they can't do because they're responding to the bait that he put hung there right in front of them, which they take every time. And believe me, as I said, in the long game, he's going to win, and he knows it. It's very simple. It's a numbers game. He's got much bigger numbers. He's the president, and he's got the bully pulpit and the biggest microphone in the world. And so he understands that he just needs to stay with it, and that the liberal media will destroy themselves by responding to his tweets and exposing themselves. And as the ratings continue to slip, they'll get more and more desperate. And it's just a matter of time. They make a lot of mini boo-boos, like the one they recently made by blackmailing this individual who created the meme. But there'll be more and more of that type of thing. And eventually they're going to do something that really drives the final stake in their heart. And you'll see a big change at CNN. You'll see a house cleaning, including the CEO all the way down. And that's what I think will happen. I think that that's what Trump is doing. I think that he knows he's pushing them. He knows they're very close to the edge. He knows they're on the edge and almost ready to go over. And I think he's just trying to give them that final push over the edge. And they'll be completely discredited. I mean, again, the ratings are lower than reruns of Yogi Bear from the 1960s. It doesn't get much worse than that. They're desperate. He's got them on the ropes. And I expect he's going for the knockout punch. So let's just keep paying close attention to Trump's tweets. I love him, and it's I kind of wonder, what if Teddy Roosevelt would have had Twitter? What if Abraham Lincoln would have had Twitter? What if Andrew Jackson would have had Twitter? What if Thomas Jefferson would have had Twitter? Don't you think that every one of those guys would have used it, knowing what we know about Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson and Jefferson and these guys, and how they felt about the media in their time and what they did with the media in their time? They were far more aggressive on the media. Even John Adams signed the Alien and Sedition Act because of the beatings he was taking from the media. Both he and Lincoln locked up reporters, put them in jail. So imagine those guys having Twitter. What Donald Trump's doing is just playing. He's having fun. You know, his stuff is basically harmless. It's just, it's in a way it's childish, but in a way it is childish, but it's at the level of the American people that they understand and can relate to, and Trump understands that. He understands how to communicate and how to relate. He understands how regular people, blue-collar, middle-class people, understand these things. He understands how these things work on social media, how they take off, and he understands it. He really does. And it's a shame that more Republicans cannot see this, and more pundits that you see cannot see this. It's almost like they're ignorant. But you never see any of them ever go on TV and say, oh yeah, Trump should keep tweeting. He's doing the right thing. He's on offense. He's got them on defense. He's causing them to melt down. He's been very effective. He continues to be effective. This is what they should be saying, because this is what the facts show us. But these people are so locked into their inside the Beltway mentality, and they're looking at this as if it was the Obama years or the Clinton years or the Reagan years or the Bush years. It's not. We are in a new paradigm, media speaking. It's a new media paradigm that we're in. We're entering into a new phase. We're entering into a new way that a president can now communicate. For FDR, it was the fireside chat on the radio, and then Ronald Reagan had his weekly broadcast that he would do directly to his supporters. And the only thing Trump is doing is taking advantage of the new modern communications situations that present themselves to him, and he can take full advantage of it. He could sit and do YouTube videos every day if he had time. So anyway, he's communicating directly with people. He's taking advantage of a new medium that is in the process of becoming more and more powerful all the time. He understands the power of social media. He's using it with great effect. And so I don't know if all of you get as frustrated as I do listening to his pundits and so-called people who support him, who keep beating him up over the tweeting and stuff. But no, he should keep tweeting. He should get even more vicious if he can. He should keep targeting CNN and MSNBC and the media. He should stay on that line constantly. Fake news, fraud news, fake news. Stay on it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. This is what the media does to all of us. It's what they've been doing to all of us. He understands that. And I think that that's why he will win, and win big in the end in this fight. CNN and the liberal media will lose. And I think that this will be... This is something we're all going to learn. It will be proven to be correct, that he will be proven correct, that his tweets were as effective against the media and his presidency as they were during his campaign. I think that's what this is all going to reveal to us. So, go Mr. Trump. Keep tweeting. All right, everybody. That's what we got for this evening's TowerGate. Day 125. July the 7th, 2017. Do appreciate all your comments. Great comments lately, and a lot of good things going on in the comments section. Mr. Shapa made a fantastic analysis of the North Korean situation. What I was trying to say, basically, I think he puts it far better than I did. So if you haven't read Mr. Shapa's response, I believe it's video 123 or 124, one of those two, take a look at the comment that Mr. Shapa made on his take on the North Korean situation. It's absolute nails, man. Absolute nails. Loved it. So anyway, thank you all. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on Saturday evening. All right, y'all take care. Bye.